Hello, welcome back to Jimmy's Tips and Tricks. Today we're going to go over saw safety, and we're going to start here by going over the pieces that we're going to need. We have a saw, we have a GFIC, and we have an extension cord and some PPE. We have gloves to protect our hands. We have safety glasses, keep our eyes safe. So the first thing you're going to want to do is you plug your GFIC into your source. So we're going to plug this in, and it's on. We're going to go ahead and trip it. Okay, tripped off, reset, so it's working good. Now we're going to take our extension cord. We're going to make sure our ground is on here and the other prongs are in good shape. Okay, a lot of times this prong's missing. You don't want to use it if that's missing. We're going to go ahead and look at our cord, make sure there's no cuts or bare areas. This is a new cord, so it should be in good shape. This is a 12 gauge cord. Okay, and our GFIC is a 12 gauge cord. You wouldn't want to use a 14 gauge at your source and then a 12 gauge after that. You want to try to keep your cord the same thickness so you don't get any resistance. So we're going to go ahead and plug this in. Plug it into our GFIC, and now we're going to look at our saw. So we'll take the saw, we're going to make sure that the guard works freely, no problem. We're going to look at our blade. This is a carbide blade. Make sure all the teeth are there in good shape. Blade's tight. Okay, we're set on 0 here. Everything looks good. We're going to check our cord. Make sure where it goes into the housing of the saw, it's in good shape, which it is. Then we're going to check our cord. We're looking for cuts, bare spots. Appears to be in good shape. Good here at the plug. Our plug's on. Okay, we don't have a ground on this because this is a insulated tool, so it doesn't have a ground. So we're going to take this and we're going to plug it in to our power. And before we go any further, we're going to make sure we put on our PPE. So we're going to put our gloves on. And our safety glasses. Okay. Now we're going to pick up the saw and we're going to just try it, make sure it works. Everything's out of the way, free. Okay, the saw works fine. Now we'll actually cut a piece of wood. So we've measured where we want to make our cut, drew a straight line, and now we're going to get our saw, bring it over to our piece of wood. You always want the piece you're cutting off to be free. You wouldn't want to cut like this, because as you're cutting, this is going to bend down and pinch your blade, and then your saw is going to want to kick back. So you always want to have your cutoff piece free, nothing under it. So another important thing is we're cutting at 90 degrees. There's a gauge here, 0, and we want to follow our line with this slot right here. Okay, so a lot of times I see people go and they just look at the blade, line the blade up with the cut, and your saw may be off at an angle. Then they start to cut and then they try to turn the saw and bring it to the line. That'll pinch your blade and make your saw want to kick back or burn out your blade. So you always want to make sure your gauge is on your line. Lift your saw up a little here. Line your blade up with the line. Okay, I'm going to back it off just a little bit. I'm all lined up and I'm going to start my cut. And when I start cutting, I'm going to watch up here on my gauge. I'm going to watch my gauge. If I look here at my blade, it's harder to keep it straight. If this is on the line, you'll be straight. So as soon as I start cutting, that's where I'm going to watch. So I'm lined up with my line. Okay, now we've made our cut, and come to find out this blade was very dull. So it was real hard to keep it on the line, and it started to smoke a little. So we know we need to change this blade. So what we're going to do is we're going to make sure we unplug the saw. Okay. We don't want it hooked up to power. So the saw's unplugged. We have our wrench right here on the saw. And these are backwards threads on these saws. There's actually a button here that when you push in, it keeps the motor from turning. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold that button in. Okay, there it engaged. And keep in mind these are backwards threads. So we're going to take off our screw. You know, lift our guard up, take off our old saw, and we're going to install the new blade. Okay, so we popped out that piece and now we have our diamond exposed. Now we can go ahead and install the saw blade. Make sure you have it so it cuts in the right direction. Put it in here, fit it right into that diamond. Put our washers back on. Easier said than done. Put our screw back in. And we'll go ahead and tighten this. We don't have to be real tight, but you want it nice and snug. So now we have our blade in here. We're good. We're going to go ahead and put our wrench back so we have it for next time. Okay, we have our new blade installed. We have another line, and we're going to go ahead and make our cut. We're going to make sure we follow on with our guide here. Okay, that cut a lot nicer. You see how much easier that was to push the saw through there. We got a nice straight cut. Okay, well that wraps up our safety tips on the saw and cutting. And if you enjoyed the video, please hit the subscribe button below and you'll be able to see more videos. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.